Welcome back, everyone, to the Broker Room Podcast. I'm Michael Simon, and today we have Dan Borland joining us. Welcome, Dan.
Great to be here, Michael. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. You as well. Pleasure to have you
Yeah.
here. For our audience, Dan is the owner of Keyrenter Newport Beach in Orange County, California. He brings decades of experience from commercial real estate finance at major banks, including JP Morgan, and now runs a growing single-family property management franchise. So having said that, Dan, let's dive right in. You've had quite a journey from leading commercial real estate finance divisions at big banks to launching your own Keyrenter franchise just over a year ago. So can you walk us through your background a little bit on how you got started and what led you to make that transition into property management?
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Certainly happy to share my story. So, moved to Orange County to go to UC Irvine and get an economics degree. And when you're living in Orange County, kind of back in the 80s and 90s, this was a growing area, and real estate ended up being a very, very important part of the growth of this county. And there was one single development company called the Irvine Company that bought 110,000 acres of this area. And I worked for that company in one of my very early careers and decided that I loved real estate and that whole realm. And so I got a business degree, which led me right into banking. I was taught to, if you want to learn a lot about real estate and real estate development, best way to do it is to go be a banker to it, be a fight side to that. And so I did that, and I ended up, then I was going to start over there, then work my way into development. And it turns out I loved the career. So right here in Orange County, worked for 5 different banks and led the commercial real estate finance divisions of those banks here in our area. And I ended up getting to know the developers and the investors and the business. And after the crisis of '08, had an opportunity to buy investment properties of my own. And so I got started then in the West buying apartments and single family homes and made a great career out of that corporate banking job. And I really loved it. But something else was tugging at me to take the next step. Never had my own business per se. And I was approached by the national franchise Keyrenter, which is a company that started 20 years ago and institutionalized this asset class called single family residential properties to be managed. Most people, when you think of those kinds of properties, you're thinking of yourself or a do-it-yourselfer or a mom and pop or a realtor or a broker. But somebody needs to now take today's technology, today's innovation, and now manage just that property type. We're not talking about apartments. We're not talking about Airbnbs or short-term vacation rentals, just long-term, good old single-family residential homes and condos that need to have tenants tended to and owners taken care of. And this company, Keyrenter, was very impressive in terms of the systems, processes, the people that I met that have long established their franchises. And I said, you know what, this is a family I want to join. So I did that a couple of years ago, and that went through an onboarding process and started from scratch here based in Newport Beach, but we're coastal, really South Coast. We call it kind of the South Coast area. It's about a 12 or 13 city coastal Orange County component of the whole county. And I live here and I know the neighborhoods and I love the folks that own properties here. And I just made a career out of it. And so I've been doing this for a little over a year. We opened our doors a little over a year ago, and fast forward to the moment we're in. I'm just now we're in growth mode. We're past our launch stage, now in growth mode, and just embracing the interesting technologies and companies and vendors that now support this business. To make this, a little more fun and a little more, a little more interesting, and also really good for our owners. A lot more transparency, a lot more data, and a lot more information. So it's been a great ride. I don't know if I would have done this 10 years ago because I think the technology would have been kind of old and archaic, but super interesting these days, and AI is a part of that.
Yeah, it certainly is. And thank you for taking the time to share that. Really appreciate you giving us that deep dive and what led you to where you are today. And yeah, looking back 10 years ago, I would say, it probably wouldn't have been, I don't want to say worth it, but, I don't think it would have been as advantageous, as it is today. Like right now, the timing seems to certainly, line up a lot better in terms of, what we can offer and, just what's available, not just for the, business owner like yourself, but for the consumer as well. And now, when we take a look at what today looks like, you're in growth mode, you had mentioned. For a day to day for you as a solopreneur scaling his franchise, you said you were targeting about 4 doors per month. What does success look like in terms of operations, teams, and, keeping the owners happy mostly?
Yeah, no, all good stuff there. So to tackle the the operational part of it, one of the things you can do in this business, I'm on the ground here. You can use remote team members, and these are folks that are specialized in the business of single family property management. They know the software, they know the systems. They've worked for other property management companies, and they can work California hours. They're going to be in, maybe they'll be in Mexico, they'll be in Central America or the Philippines, and they're excellent, dedicated folks that you can bring on. You can also do the same for your marketing team. So operationally, you need to be, you onboard a property, you work with an owner, you get a property listed, you hit the market. Someone's got to take photos. Someone's got to show those units. Someone's got to interface with tenants, do the applications, do the screening, move them in, get this property rent ready, handle any maintenance, move them in, collect the rent. And then once the tenants are in, you've got to be ready 24/7 for any issues that they have on their property. And it could be, whether it's an emergency issue or, a toilet or a sink or whatever it is. But you have to have all of those systems in place, and there needs to be an answer to every question. And they need to be able to reach you, phone, text, email, whatever it is. Same thing with the owners. There needs to be full transparency for them to go into a portal and see what's happening with their properties. The owners today care about not just what I went through, the mechanics of the property, but how can this property that they own perform even better? And it's going to be things like an asset management approach to their property. You're going to be helping them um, really enhance the performance of this property financially, whether that's getting them a better insurance policy, introducing them to a better lower rate mortgage, finding other ways to cut expenses, maybe making some efficient renovations to increase rent. All of the above. That's my job, to advise and be a trusted advisor, not just that rent collector we talked about, but so you spend time with owners doing that. You spend time with your team to make sure that the tenants are happy, and you just have to be quick. You got to be responsive. You got to have answers when the questions come up, and you got to do that all the time. So every day is a new day, and that you just need to have the people and the technology to help you do that.
Yes, yes, you do. And one thing you said before that really stood out, lead generation and owner acquisition is a major focus right now. You work with realtors who could refer management, but often try to handle it themselves or distrust property managers. So I may have already, given the answer to that, but still, I want to hear it from you. What would you say the biggest challenges you're facing now in consistently bringing on new owners, and how are you tackling that? Is it like the
Well,
distrust or?
yeah, no, it's a great question, and I will tell you this: the bar, and I don't mean to say this about this business, but look, the bar is fairly low in property management. I think a lot of owners have previously worked with. I'm not disparaging realtors. I'm just saying that they've just had people managing their properties that really weren't maybe best suited to manage their properties. They were just maybe a friend or a family or somebody a realtor that would rather be selling properties, and by the way, better at selling properties than they are at managing the day to day. So the challenge is that you're going in with a kind of a tough reputation. That's what one of the challenges are. So the owners that you talk to, you have to be very, very quick to try to change their view of what we do. What exactly do we do for the cost we charge? And why would they talk to us? Why me versus somebody else? Why us versus another company? And so you have to spend quite a bit of time to overcome that that perception that the owners have. And once they experience the great service, and I like to call myself the quiet company. What does that mean? That means I don't need to bother the owner. We move somebody in, we collect their rent, we give them the owner distributions, we handle everything for them so that they can go on vacation. And once I've got owners that once they've had us for a month or two or three, they say, "Wow, this is great. Now when I buy my next property, I'm going to have you manage it because I like the process." So you have to do a lot of proving. And back to the lead generation question you were asking, Michael. There's lots of ways you approach them. You go find today they're looking, of course, Google searches, they're looking at your Google reviews, they're looking at your reputation. Are you showing up in the first search? Um, are the keywords properly there? And now that's, of course, migrating to the AI realm. People are now going into ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, and Gemini to search in more complex, kinds of search words, big, much more information that they're trying to gather or state in the prompt to find, hey, find me the best property management company based here that does these kind of reviews. And they put all of these elaborate prompts in, and now we need to be found there in those platforms, in the LLMs. And so having to figure out, okay, what are you doing to make sure that you're showing up there? And so anyway, so realtor referrals continue to be very important. And I will say to the realtors who we love and appreciate, we are just the property management company in the back room that stays in our lane, and all we do is manage properties. You guys sell and we manage. And when the owner of our rental properties wants to sell, back to you it goes, because you're the one that referred it to us. So you're going to be selling the property if they eventually, or buying the next property if they need somebody to rep them. So it's one of those kinds of trust relationships you have to build with the realtors, which again is another industry that um, they distrust property managers because they're afraid that we're going to take their clients, and that's, in our case, not the case. We just do what we do.
Yeah, I can understand why, building that trust, could be, a big challenge for what you do. But, like you said, you've got the track record, it speaks for itself. And really, at the end of the day, it's a win-win for everybody, especially after the way, you just described it. They have their role, they play their part, they get, paid, taken care of, then you take over and you do what you do. And at the end of the day, it's just such a good system. It works out for everybody.
Right.
And then to tack on further what you had mentioned about, you said that you were embracing technology, AI specifically. When we previously spoke, you had mentioned tools like Vendaroo for tenant issue triage, and then I think Showdigs for automated showings and pre-vetting. How would you say that AI has already changed how you run your business, let's say, compared to a year or two ago, maybe even longer, a few years?
Yeah. No. Great question. And I would tell you that if somebody was doing this a year or two or three ago, there would have been one, two, three, or four of me here physically on the ground, people that, either partners or employees. And now you embrace these great technologies for all aspects. So whether that's having them help you write the marketing description for the property to get started on listing the property, then when you're putting together your photos, and I'm just going kind of through the life cycle. You're bringing on a property, you're needing to do maintenance to get it ready. So you're working with a maintenance company that you're connecting to through the AI channel, and then they see what needs to be done. They show up, they schedule it, and they're there. Photographs, you can set up your virtual staging. You go take your photographs, and now the AI comes in and virtually stages each properties to make them look the best they can look, for visualization purposes only. And then once tenants are in, you're starting to show the property, rather, like while I'm talking to you, uh, properties that I have available are being scheduled. Tenants are inquiring. They're chatting with our AI agents right now about how many bedrooms, what is it going to, when is it available? What are the qualifications? Can I come see it today at 2 o'clock? That is all happening while I'm talking to you right now. And those are being scheduled. And whether I go out and show the property or a designated licensed agent on my behalf goes and shows that, all of that gets arranged by, in this case, Showdigs, one of our great vendors that we love. And then moving into tenants are moving in. Now we've got, it's 10 o'clock at night. Somebody's chatting on our system and they have a problem with their thermostat, and they're either taking a picture of it or they're doing a video. And on that phone call, or FaceTime, the AI agent is able to see what kind of brand it is, knows exactly what needs to happen, turn this, flip that, unplug, whatever it said. They know exactly they can triage it. And 1/3 of these calls you don't have to have people go out to somebody's house at 10 o'clock at night, because they could be triaged through an AI agent with the tenant, who gets an immediate response from a friendly person, a friendly agent, I should say, And those are just some of the capabilities. We're not taking the humans out of the business. We're here. We're still here. But we want to just be, when somebody's wants an immediate response, which is what everybody wants now, there needs to be some assistance to do that. And these AI technologies help us do that. And it's just along our side. So it's myself and a few others, not 6 or 7 others. So there's cost savings there that are amazing. And it's just getting really better by the day. And I'm just super impressed with what I'm seeing being innovated right now.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Going from potentially needing 3 to 4 full-time humans, as you just mentioned, to scaling towards, like, 100 to 300 doors just with you, plus some remote support, and then the AI platforms themselves. So, given that, you've used AI quite a bit now in your practice and, you've mentioned how it's gonna help the industry as a whole, are there still, any gaps or a wish list maybe for what you'd love to AI handle better or do for you?
Well, I would tell you, in all of us property managers, whether you're early in the business like me or somebody that has 3,300 units, it's all about amazing communication, a feel of a human element, and then it's really the maintenance side. So I don't mean to be dwelling about maintenance, but that is the piece of this business that still has some disconnects, some issues that happen. I mean, I feel like rent collection, economics, portals that where you can see the financial performance of a property, all of that works fantastically. But then trying to connect a tenant at 10 o'clock at night to put potentially a plumber that's in a pickup truck, 5 miles away, to us, the property management company, to the issue at hand. It might be an emergency, just making sure that all of that doesn't, spin out of control. And sometimes it does. That's the piece that, you know, we're going to just I'll say just get better at. It's pretty good, but not, that's just where the challenge area is. And always has been, is being able to perform, getting a handyman out and making sure that people's homes that they live in and rent are fully operational and that there's no problems in it. And that's like, I just, we strive to be very high customer service orientation on that. And just, I obsess about this issue. So it ends up being something I'm sensitive about. And it's not, it's a B, not an A.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's a great point you bring up too, because a lot of folks are worried about AI potentially replacing humans in a lot of aspects. And while it's certainly going to make our lives a lot easier, there's just some things, real estate being one of them, where it's just never going to go away completely. And like you
Right.
just mentioned, AI can work 24/7 for you. It can help talk to folks who need something at like 10 o'clock at night, or what have you. But you're still going to need those handymen at the end of the day to actually, go out there and do the work that is required. So that's a really good example of that. I don't know if you heard there was this guy down in Florida who apparently sold his home by just using AI completely. And somebody had mentioned that to me and they were like, "Oh, yep, see, it's already happening." And I just said, "Yeah, yeah, but no, that's like an anomaly. That's not going to be the norm. That's just something very like once in a very, very rare while, because
Yeah,
you don't."
that's a good story. I mean, that's, there's gonna be stories like that. And there's also a
Yeah.
property manager up in one of the Dakotas that has like literally 300 properties. He owns half of them and he manages the other half. But he manages all 300 of them. And he is like himself and he works like 20 hours a week. That's it. And then AI does everything for him. And so, look, AI enhances the business. It helps it be better. We still need leasing managers. We still need maintenance managers. We still need property managers. We still need the human element here because you're dealing with a legal thing here. You've got properties, you've got habitability, you've got laws, you've got documents, you've got people. And you have to continue to have the human element. All this is doing is making it more efficient, making us be more responsive, making us be way more aware. Like, okay, I'm just telling you, the old days, it might be days before a property manager even knew there was a problem going on in the property.
Mhm.
But oh, I didn't even know about that. What happened? You didn't know because however they were contacting, that they weren't answering phones or whatever it was, very archaic, but it's now very instantaneous. And now people need responses and demand responses, especially with the rents where they are in California. Rents are going up. They're very expensive. Tenants are saying, hey, I'm paying $6,500 for a 3 bedroom. I better have like really good property management. I better have a really nice property. I better have good responsive team supporting this house I live in, because a lot of, half the people are renting here and the other half own.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just very, very important, and it's an additive and an enhancement, not a replacement.
Mhm. Yes, fully agreed. And you brought up an interesting point too about the renting, in the Orange County area. And I apologize, I meant to ask this towards the beginning when we were getting started. But, when it comes to the trends, in the Orange County area, can you talk a little bit about that, what you're seeing from a property manager's perspective? And again, if you want to throw the real estate perspective in there as well, too, by all means.
Yeah, so we're living in an area where it's close to $2 million median house price, and when I look at like I grew up here, and I was able to buy a house here back in the day, and I know that that's our generation was able to do that, and we, not that it was easy, but we just did. But now I'm looking at there's just so many people, they're in their 20s, 30s, young Gen Z millennials that are professionals, double income, make pretty good money, but yet still can't afford to buy a house, but they want the lifestyle that goes with this community that we live in, which are really high quality jobs and a really high quality lifestyle and way of living. And they want to live in a house that they grew up in, whether that's Irvine and Newport or Costa Mesa or whatever. But I will tell you that it's really out of reach. I'm not making a political statement. I'm just saying that's just the economic fact of what's happened to Orange County in the last 40 years. It's become an international destination. There's a lot of people that have moved from all over the world and have found this particular location just to be an amazing spot to live in. And so prices have gone up. So rents, in other words, to live here, you're going to have to rent here to have the lifestyle that you want. Otherwise, you're going to be commuting a couple hours to your job here. So there's been so the rental market is very strong. Vacancies are are very low. But I will tell you, for folks that bought houses fairly recently, 21, 22, 23, they paid pretty elevated prices for those homes, and the economics of rent aren't that great. Like if you were to go buy something today to rent it out, your economics would be negative. You would be upside down on you need to own your property 20 starting to 10 or 15 years ago. So folks that we have Californians that have left. They don't want to they don't want to sell their house. So they call me and they say, we're moving to Tennessee, please rent out our house. I have all kinds of stories like that going on here. And it's townhomes, it's single family detached homes, it's oceanfront, whatever. But it will appeal to all kinds of different demographics, those young couples, families, empty nesters. But it's a rental community now, at least half. And that's really what's going on. It's just a price driven thing. And that's kind of a California story. Most of that's, coastal California anyway, as I was just describing Orange County.
Yeah, it is. But, I think we've seen too, and a wider net, all over the country, really, people are just struggling to buy homes and the affordability. I don't think there's ever been a point in history where it's been, this difficult to do it. I mean, if you're living alone and just have one income, I'm pretty sure that it's right around like 111 grand you got to make. That's minimum just to buy the home, meet your basic expenses. That's, you can't go on a vacation, you can't have a social life. That's just the bare bones minimum. So,
Right.
yeah, when you're living with somebody else that can help, negate it a bit, but it's still going to be, a tight squeeze for a lot of folks. So I can see how, it's created that trend, especially in that area where everything's a lot more, more expensive. Do you think, looking ahead at the next 6 to 12 months that, do you see that going in one direction or another?
No, I think it's gonna kind of stay for a while. It's not, I don't want to say permanent, but it's kind of one of those. There's just we're out of land. Everything's really been developed. All of the communities have been developed here. There's really not much developable land in kind of coastal Orange County. There's inland areas that are available for development, and that's going to be kind of where it is. But one of the things that's happening is as you watch those young professionals grow up a little bit in terms of 20s and 30s and now have kids, they don't want to live in an apartment anymore, and they do want a house. And so the demand for these rental homes will be very, very strong. And I don't see to your question, I don't see the dynamic changing where we're going to suddenly watch this big drop in values. We did have that in '08. Last
Yeah.
time that it was almost, I can't even believe it's been 18 years, but things dropped here, things that were 2 million dropped to like a million, 1 million, 2. So there was quite a bit of a drop here, and there was a really good opportunity to buy, and a lot of people did back then. But things are still, pretty pricey, and owners, the demand is still there, to buy these houses. So the prices are staying where they are.
Yeah, I'm just hoping with, inflation the way it is right now, that we will start to see things come down in the near future. I'm not trying to get into politics,
Yeah.
but, at least with the war looking like it's going to be finally over with, things have started to settle down a bit, especially with oil coming down. So I'm hoping that's going to have a, snowball effect on everything else. But time will tell. There's been a lot of back and forth, over the last, it's been like 6 months now. So keeping an eye on inflation. And again, looking ahead, at the next 6 to 12 months, I want to go back, zoom in towards you and your practice. Where do you want Keyrenter Newport Beach to be? Whether it's more doors under management, stronger referral partnerships with realtors, or, better owner retention?
Yeah, I love the questions, and the answer is yes. And growth, I like this 4 to 5 door per month growth I was mentioning to you, and that is, that's 48 to 50 doors a year, not more than that, not less than that. That's something we can sustain that, we can grow that, we can fulfill those, that kind of growth. If it was more than that, then you'd have to, uh, change the business approach a little bit, just to make sure that we're not leaving any owners behind, and we're not, disrupting the business. So that puts us around 60 doors by the end of this year, and then 100 by the end of next year. And to me, that's a really good goal. That's a good place to be. And it's in line with my own, business pro forma that we put together for that. And we can do that. And you do that through those realtor referrals, digital SEO, continuing to grow your Google reviews with happy tenants and owners, which is extremely important. And then just doing a lot of outreach, finding out that we have 125,000 absentee, non-owner occupied rental properties, not apartments, in this area. And that's a lot of owners that need to be contacted, and they need to be pitched to. And that's what we spend a lot of time doing, whether that's cold calls or just reaching out. Just, how can we be help? Can we send you a free rental analysis? Can we send you a vendor? Maybe they only want us to lease their property instead of actually also managing it. Maybe they just say, Dan, I just all I need is I can manage my own house. Just find me a tenant. We'll do that. We will market it, pictures, photos, showings, get the lease going, and then move the tenant in, and then we step out, and that's called a lease only transact. We'll do that. Or we'll do that plus fully manage it if they want. Sometimes owners start with the leasing. They go, you know what, this is something I do more than I expected. I want to travel more, so we'll let you manage it. So we listen to them. What are your needs? What are you worried about? How can I reduce stress for you? And that's how you grow. And you just have to just keep trying to grow your business. A little bit of social media, there's people to do that. We just try to be really honest with owners, and just tell it like it is. And if they like us, we're glad, and we want to try to help grow their portfolio, because a lot of them are pretty active. They're still buying things. In South Orange County, not so much Newport coastal here. I'm talking about, like, Mission Viejo, Aliso Viejo. There's communities where some of that economic does work. You can buy a property and make sense out of renting it. And you might have to wait a little longer to get the value up, but in the rents, but there's pretty good opportunity down there.
Yeah, yeah, it certainly sounds it. And those goals seem very real, very attainable, and based on the system that you've got going so far, I have no doubt you'll be reaching them. Just one other question to add on to what you were talking about with that 125,000, people that just need to be contacted. Have you used AI to, try to automate that outreach at all, or has it just been, like cold calls or social media or, another method?
What we've done is, what we're you go and set up your, your SEO, and you're also setting up landing pages. So when people are searching Orange County property manager, or I need a good property manager in Irvine, or whatever the keywords are, trying to be where they are. And so there's companies that we work with that capture those inquiries, and then feed them to us, and then it's up to us to call those folks quickly very high response rate. Reach out. Back to your AI question. AEO is the thing now, and I know you know that. We're doing that. I mean, we're testing that out and trying that out and doing the prompts, and it's pretty new. But we're trying to determine the best approach to that. But I know that that's important, and it's probably maybe 10 to 20% of owners are going through that channel right now. 80% of them are still doing Google, but like maybe 10 or 20 are now going into the AI realm. So to be there, you have to be there. You better show up in the top three. Keyrenter Property Management better show up in the top three in my local market when someone's searching on AI. So it's who's got the best mousetrap to have a company like us find that, get that, take full advantage of that and channel that. Work in progress, Michael, is the answer to that.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds it, and that's, a lot of systems that I've seen too, where, people try to achieve the same thing. That's part of what we do too at Quantum Veil AI. My partner and I, we put together lead generating systems like that, where
Yeah.
the automated outreach, excuse me, is done for you. It pulls the data, from public spaces, like you just said. You gave that number of, folks who need to be contacted about their rentals, and then it just, goes out, it does it for you, and then that's it. It's kind of set it and forget it, so to speak. There's not as much manual work required on your end, especially if you're doing it via email. So it would just, send the email out to them, qualify them, see if they're actually interested in meeting. Then if they are, they put the appointment on your calendar, and then boom, you're good to go.
Let me ask this. In addition to that email outreach, does it also have an agentic element where they're call either straight to voicemail or simply an agent phone call to an owner? Because a lot of what I'm also learning now is you could probably prove me wrong on this, but I guess people seem to be somewhat responsive to if they're getting texts, if they're getting straight to voicemail, if they're getting a call, if they're versus an email. I mean, not that they're not seeing the emails, and it's just that it seems like the business is moving fast with, you kind of need to text them and call them and have a live conversation with them and catch them live. Emails are great. That's you just have to do all of the above, basically. But I'm just kind of curious about the agentic outreach element of your business.
Mostly it's done with emails, whether it be through social media, LinkedIn, or, whatever else, whatever other domain have you.
Yeah.
But it can certainly be done with calls as well. There are AI automated systems where you can just, have the machine call you. You're probably, I don't want to say less likely, but from what I've seen personally, email tends to work a little bit better, especially because, they think they're talking to an actual person. And when I say that, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be like sneaky or underhanded, because I have mine set up personally to where if prompted, it will say, you're speaking with an AI agent. Someone actually
Mm.
did that, and they just said, yeah,
Wow.
I'm speaking with an agent. And the reason is really it's simple. Number one, that's my product. In this case, this is what I help offer business owners. So if they are in a position where they think they're talking to an actual human being, that's great because it shows that the personal touch and the intelligence is there
Right.
and it's working. And if they, get a little suspicious, which, that's normal for some people, it's just, honest. Yeah, that's what I do. One time I had a guest on the podcast and he had somebody else reach out to him through a similar system. And the guy said, is this AI? And the person said, oh, no, no, it's not AI at all. But it really clearly was. So
Yeah.
why lie? There's nothing to lie about. It's just that's what
Wow.
you use for your business to help make things easier. And
Yeah.
that's what you offer to other business owners as well.
Yep. No, I agree with that. And look, the typical owner here, these are $2 to $5 million properties here, and they've got several of them have multiple versions of that, and so they're sophisticated. They know what's going on. They're no nonsense. They don't have time. They're very busy in their own professional lives, not only owning these properties, but they will catch on to that and they will reject that. So they do like the human element. But they don't like cold calls. I've learned that they don't like to just be T-boned in the afternoon when they're really kind of busy. You got to have some kind of more gentle approach. And I think an email actually does make sense to sort of just hello, introduce, soften it up. Love to try to provide more, and then just intro and just start that relationship on a positive note, in a softer way.
Yeah, fully agree. That's what I do personally. That's what I've seen many others do. And while you still certainly can cold call, I mean, in this day and age, it's not a complete waste of time, but it's you're gonna have some rough periods. Whereas with the email, like you said, it's a lot more softer. There's not as much pressure. They don't feel like they're being annoyed, need to take time
Yes.
out of their day. It's just like, oh,
Right.
all right, let me see what this says. All right, yeah, I can, I want to hear more about that. Let me book like a quick call to just hear about it. And then, you go from there. That's actually how you and I met originally, how we had our initial conversation. My AI SDR, reached out to you because it felt you would be a good guest for my podcast, which had been phenomenal, by the way. And then, it gouged your interest. It put you on my calendar so we could have an initial discussion because, again, I want you to actually meet me, put a face to a name, not just, say, okay, you're going to meet with Mike Simon for the podcast. Good luck. He'll explain everything there and then. That's not good business for me
Right.
personally. Like I said, I like a personal approach.
Yeah.
So you know me, you know my background a little bit, what I do, and then we decide if it's a good fit, which is perfectly, reasonable. In fact, I think it should actually be required. And then from there, you see what business you can do together potentially.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
it's it's just been a great ride, and you just end up learning a lot more, like, and we won't get into it now, but there's a whole other realm of the short-term rental management, which we do not do, but I'm getting owners that have that need. They say, "Dan, I don't need a long-term management company. I need somebody to just rent my house for 30 to 60 days at a time." Great. We have a company we partner with there to solve that. So it's the answer is, have an answer for a question. Have a solution when they have a problem, and
Mhm.
help them out, because that's what they care about, is that now you become a trusted advisor. I'm just telling you that it works, and
Yeah.
that. It's just, and I love these owners. I really do. Great relationships we've established with them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely great system from what you've described. And Dan, as we come up on time here, I always like to end with one question in particular, and that's, if there's anybody watching this that's young in the business or thinking about getting into it, what are some words of wisdom that you would have for them in getting started?
Well, I would say that, and I know this is going to sound trite, but look, you have to love this, really understand it. You're going to have some really tough days. There's going to be, be prepared for rejection, be prepared for tons of challenges, and you're gonna wake up in the middle of the night saying, "Why am I doing this?" Stay the course. Don't give up, but have passion for what this is, and please go understand exactly the 360 degrees around this business, what it really is and what it really isn't. So do your research, talk to people that are in it, and don't let yourself, give yourself any illusions about what you think it is. But you know, once you're in, then stay dedicated. And I can tell you that there's been challenges in this that made me, oh my gosh, but I'm glad I got over those, because the next day ends up being fantastic after the day we had before. But it's been great. But meeting people, 3 to 4 to 5 people every single day, super exciting. Wasn't doing that in corporate America per se. It was the same kind of group all the time. This is, you're meeting amazing people every single day. And I know you're like, today, when you finish your day, you're going to have somebody that you've not talked to today. And that excites me. That gets me up every morning. And that's what I
Yeah.
would try to instill in that young person, to your question.
Mhm. Yeah, me as well. I mean, not to bash corporate life, the 9 to 5 grind, we all do it at some point. It's a great way to get some real world experience, get started. But, for me personally, and it sounds like for you as well, it's just not, what we wanted to do forever. We wanted more. And that experience, like you said, meeting those new people, having those interactions, your own business, it's all part of the process. And that's why I do what I do now. I love meeting new people. I mean, I'm all the way out in Rhode Island. I'm talking to you. You're across the country in California. I've seen and met with people from all over. It's a really great experience and, just really happy to see, where it goes going forward. And speaking of moving forward, Dan, for our listeners, where can they go if they want to learn more about you or what you do or potentially even work with you in some capacity?
Yeah. Well, it's really simple. It's www.keyrenternewportbeach.com is the website that has all of the information for residents, for owners, testimonials, or they can call our main number, which is 949-404-3000. Either of those. But a lot of information on our website, and we're happy to engage in conversation.
Excellent. Well, Dan, this has been fantastic. Really appreciate you taking the time, sharing with us your experience, your words of wisdom, and just all the exciting things that are happening, not just in your practice, but in the industry as a whole. Really appreciate you here. Hope you have a good one, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Great to chat with you. Take care. Have a great day.
You
Thanks.
too. Bye bye.